Alright, this is the video review of the F-15E Strike Eagle from the Muv-Luv alternative line by Volks. This time we're doing a bit of a twofer, because in fact these are from slightly different toy lines. And if you're wondering why is this random ass robot called the F-15E Strike Eagle, well, this is because in the Muv-Luv world, all the happy airplanes that we all grew up with are now sweet robots, because aliens with laser spewing eyeballs makes flying a plane kind of difficult. So the one on the left here is a typical A3 release, and this is actually a TMC release, this blue one here. What's the difference? Well, this is Tactical Surface Fighter Model Collection. This is the regular Advanced System Action Arms. This one seems to be made out of a slightly different grade of PVC plastic. I think it's PVC plastic, where instead of being painted the color it needs to be, it's actually just molded in this nice blue color. Feels a bit harder. There seems to be a lot less warping of parts than on this one here. Slight warping on things like the ends of the jump units here, little fins there. It feels a little bit, could be potentially more brittle, but seems to be alright so far. And also another interesting thing is the TMC figure costs about $16 less, 1,500 yen. And it's interesting because they have very, very different boxes. This is a TMC box, very nice, small, and compact. And this is an A3 box, which is big, chunky, and kind of excessive. Again, they're basically the same figure, and yeah, but one thing I like about the A3 box is you have all the characters on the back. Let's see, we got American Idiot, Italian Stallion, and the Swedish character knows what she's actually doing. Can you guess which one's my favorite? Anyway, back to the figures. I'm just going to focus on the A3 figure for a bit. So it's done in a very nice aircraft gray, I guess you would call it. Loaded with the patented A-lock joints. This is one of their earlier releases, though. This is from like 2007, so they didn't quite know what they wanted to do as far as making action figures, because Volks is more all about high-end resin kits and dolls. Articulation-wise, it's all right. Some parts a little disappointing, like the head. You can kind of turn it like this, and that's basically it. And also, if you are using, instead of the mount pylons that have guns on them, if you use these mount pylons, which are empty, they actually stick up just a little bit. And because of this, the head actually knocks into the back here, so that's why I tend to just kind of keep this thing fully loaded. Anyway. The waist does not actually tilt up and down, which means this guy tends to look like he's facing the ground all the time. You can kind of get the waist fairly back and forth a lot. You're just kind of going to run into things where these are going to be, all the stuff in the back is going to be whacking into itself. A word on the skirt armor, before I get into the arms here. The skirt armor and the big mount pile, or the jump units back here. These are actually just mounted on a simple like double swivel. So this part just kind of goes in, and then this part also moves. It's not as good as in the later ones where they just use an A-lock joint to give you a bit more flexibility, so they're always kind of pointing outward and causing this guy to fall backwards. The skirt armor, it actually moves up and down. There's the peg here, it does come off, I'm not going to do it right now. But the peg is actually kind of square, so that it has a very soft click when it moves. So it does tend to kind of work itself out. You can see that it comes off like that. There you go. It can work itself off as you're posing it, so just remember to kind of push it back in when you're moving it up and down. And the front parts of the skirt armor do have a little flap that moves as well. So that's kind of handy. Arms are actually pretty good. This is the thing that kind of got right straight off the bat. These things can move all the way, full 360. Pretty much. They do actually come off if you pull them hard enough. But the arms, they kind of move in and out. They're on this double A-lock joint, which will clicks here, right where it hits the arm, and then also clicks on the inner part right there. Just a little bit though. The flaps on the shoulders, they move out. I don't really know why, because there's no real joint in there that lets you take advantage of that part. You got yourself a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, wrist swivel, because these optional hands, they just all peg in. You got your regular things here. You got fists. You have other hand with other gun. You got splayed hands. There's a pair of each of these. So that looks kind of nice. And you've got hand with knife in it. And this time the knives are pointing up. Some of these are a little tight though, I noticed on this figure. It's a little touchy like that. Now, actually, the knife-wielding hand is the only thing that the TMC figure doesn't have, which is kind of interesting. It's like, why did they not include that? Maybe they just wanted to reach a price point. Okay, so let's just kind of look over the legs real quick. This guy's pretty good at doing wide-legged stances. It's interesting because most A3 or any of the Volks toys, they're kind of conservative with their sculpt. So they're just trying to look like the line art. And but for whatever reason, even though this guy is going for the line art fidelity, he's actually pretty good at just kind of like doing dynamic poses. So that's interesting. So you can see the ankles do tilt inward a bit. They're kind of tight first off. And like on the F4, you do have little fill-in parts. You just kind of slide these out. And you can just kind of leave these around. They look like little beetles, don't they? Pretty much. Kind of interesting. And you can just expose the double clicking A-lock joint in the back to give it full range of motion. And also you do have the A-lock joint right in the hip area. So these guys are pretty good at taking to a knee. They do the sniper pose you saw in the anime a few times, and Stella did pretty well. So that's kind of all I really wanted them to do. I have to admit, they're not as nice as and kind of more ambitious as some of the later A3 figures, as far as like using more A-lock joints, having just more articulation. But it's all right. I like it. I like the figure. I actually had a lot more fun. I was kind of down on these at first, but then I started posing them again. It's like taking pictures. Like, oh, this is actually kind of fun to play with. Yeah. Pretty solid overall. No real problems. Also, one other thing, the A3 figure does come with these decals. I thought these were water slides at first, but no, they're actually just, you can kind of see there's the edge of it right there. Yeah, these are actually sticky decals. They're just not pre-cut, so you better use the X-Acto knife skill snake. Anyway, decent figures. They have, again, problems like you can't have the undone mount pylons, the bare mount pylons if you want to keep the head moving. Yeah, pretty cool. They can do this pose. That's kind of all I wanted them to do. Kind of a shame that we're not getting the Revoltech figure that they teased for it, but yeah, oh well. There's also the recent Kotobukiya kit that came out as well. So if you're a Muv-Luv fan, and you like the F-15, this is a pretty good figure. I think you'll be satisfied with it. Don't have much else to say. These guys are running, or seem to be going about like 3,000 to 3,500 yen on the aftermarket. You can probably get one for under $50 after shipping and all that. And for whatever reason, these are kind of running the same price. So even though these are cheaper MSRP, they seem to be both the same price from the aftermarket. So get which one you want. There's this guy. There's this is the American colored release. There's also the Japanese Kagero version, which has a couple of different weapons and stuff, but still the same figure. All right, this has been Andrew doing another Muv-Luv review for CollectionDX.com.